What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am your host, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin, and we are brought to you by the MWA Podcast Network, and we have a very special show for you tonight. It's Thursday night, it's 9 o'clock, the kids are asleep. Sit back, pour yourself a stiff one, crack yourself a cold one, roll yourself a green one if that's how you like to sit back and relax, because I've got a very special guest joining me this evening. Charli Rose. She is an up-and-coming professional wrestler from Tasmania. My first Tasmanian professional wrestler I have coming on, and I'm super excited. Maybe I'll ask her if she's a fan of Taz, the Tasmaniac, back in early ECW days. Maybe a bit before her time, but we'll see how the conversation goes. But guys, before we get into it, I just want to take a quick second, a quick pause for the cause to thank some sponsors that help us keep the lights on up in this bitch. First off, is Health Vape. Now, let me tell you about Health Vape. Now, these guys are healthvape.com. They sell healthy vaping alternatives. All products are no nicotine, no harmful additives or chemicals, and they are vitamin infused. So make sure to pick yourself some up. I'm a vapor. I've got some on the way. Pick up some of their vape and pod products. Use promo code MWA pod to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Next, guys, I want to take a quick second to thank Sleefs.com. Now, Sleefs.com, if you're an athlete or you know an athlete, you need to check out this website. Sleeves offer great quality products from arm sleeves, knee sleeves, compression pants, compression socks, compression shorts, headbands, tights, joggers, socks, and even dirty boxes. I didn't know what dirty boxes were till they sent me some, and guys, I'm too scared to put them on because they're just a little bit too creepy for me, because I'm a little bit old, but maybe some of you young, woke, amazing people out there would want to get some dirty boxes. So head over to sleeves.com, use promo code MWAPOD to get yourself a 10% discount on your final purchase. Now, guys, I also want to take a special mention because we have some amazing other shows here on the MWA podcast. We have Get Funked with former WCW star Alan Kwee Wee Funk. And this week, he has a very special guest that he interviewed, Ms. Molly Holly. That's right, WWE Hall of Famer is on Get Funked this week. That will air tomorrow at 9 a.m. Australian time, 7 p.m. USA Eastern. So make sure you tuned into YouTube for that one, because that will be dropping on the dot, baby. And also, we can't forget about Killing the Business with former ECW original, the Kingpin, Angel motherfucking Medina, where every week he is dropping knowledge and dropping bombs. He's the most politically incorrect person I know, and that's why we love him. But we've tried to rein him in. But, you know, it's Angel. You never know what's going to happen on Killing the Business, so make sure you tune into that. That's on Saturday, 10 a.m. Australian time, which is 8 p.m. on Friday, USA Eastern time. Now, I can't forget about one of my favorite shows on the network right now, and that is Knights of the Gimmick Table. Guys, if you're a fan of indie wrestling and tag wrestling, you know exactly who the Dead Presidents are. They have been a staple in the indie scene for decades. They are amazing. Boogaloo and Lowrider, they have their show available every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. USA Eastern, 11 a.m. Monday morning here in Australia, baby. And this week they've got King Mega and Prince Nana stopping by, and yeah, man, those guys are going to have one hell of a time. So make sure you check out that show. But guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring out my guest on Shooting the Shit Uncensored. It is Charli Rose. Charli, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I was going to do an awkward laugh, but then I was caught out today by two of my wrestling dads, so I'm aware of it now. I've got to try and tone it down, but I don't know.
Not at all. Not at all. Be yourself. Have fun.
A weird laugh.
I saw that tweet and I was going to comment on it, but I was in the middle of something when it happened, and I then completely forgot till you mentioned it. But
yeah.
But Charli, you know, I've only just heard about you, obviously, with Deathmatch Down Under. You know, your match with Joel Bateman, absolute crazy match. Yeah. And I found out that was your first death match.
Yeah, that was the first kind of hardcore anything match that I've ever done in my life.
Wow. You just went, let's go glass panes and light tube deathmatch.
Throw me into the deep end, and then I guess the rest of it will be like, this is fine. This is nothing. No, it was so much fun. I've always wanted to do something like a death match. I didn't think I'd be doing it this early or so soon in my career, but yeah, I'm very grateful I did it. Yeah, it was so much fun. Very scary and very like mentally like all over the place, but yeah, it was so good.
What was your mindset like leading up to that match like though? Like, were you like, was there moments where you're like, should I pull out of this? Should I not do this? Or were you like, I'm 100% in. I can't wait to get in there and tear shit up?
As soon as the idea was thrown to me to do it, like one day, I was always like, as soon as the opportunity comes, I have to take it. But it wasn't until like, I mean, on the day I'm always stressed for like wrestling shows anyway. But because Joel didn't rock up till like a little bit later, and down in Tassie, I'm so used to preparing like any of my matches like weeks, days before they even start. Like
Sure.
to get out there and like not have really talked over anything. Yeah, that was a lot on my brain, which is probably the reason why I freaked out the most. Not the fact that I was going to be like rolling around in glass or anything like that. Like that's fine because adrenaline's there. Like I wasn't going to feel it anyway, and I knew that. But not having as much time to prep, but that's what I need. Like going into this year, I need that experience of going out there, not really having that much time to think and working on the fly. But yeah, for that kind of match and like to go out there and do it as intensely as I did, I don't know how did, like I don't even remember it happening, to be honest.
Do you remember taking the first bump with the glass?
Nah,
Like being in the ring?
nah, I don't remember anything. All I remember was coming out from my entrance and then getting in the ring and just bawling my eyes out because I was so overwhelmed. And then 2 seconds later, the match was over and I was, looking at my sore knee.
And you mentioned before, like, you usually plan your matches out. How would you normally plan a match out? Would you do it from like start to finish, like every single step of the way would be like how much of it would be pre-planned for you?
Yeah, so I guess we would kind of talk about a story that would go across 3 months because down in Tassie, we don't do shows as regularly. So every match that we have, we want to make everything make sense and we want everything that we do to count to show, our fans and what, our interstate or international fans, like what we can do. So I now like to give myself maybe like less than 2 weeks because if I do any more, like obviously I'm gonna like freak out and like run the risk of forgetting stuff. But I would usually plan, you start something in the middle that we can work to, and then obviously a finish. But I'm slowly starting to back away from like planning every single thing because that's how I very much used to work, and I know that's how a lot of people do still work. And I don't know, I think I'm a big overthinker, so not having that extra like few steps put in the back of my mind, like I'm getting a lot better at that. I'd like to think I am.
How long have you been wrestling for?
So I've been wrestling training since July 2016, and then I've been doing shows since February 2018, I think. Which, like, to anyone that's like I say that, they're like, "Oh, that seems like a really long time," but because I don't wrestle as much, or we don't do shows as much in Tassie, it really isn't a lot. But I've been training for that amount of time. Yeah.
So you basically started pretty young, like wrestling and getting into it. Like how old were you when you started?
16. No, I think I was like 14. 14, almost turning 15 when I started training. Kids, I mean, I know you're supposed to be in bed because it's like 9 o'clock, but kids don't do that. For the love of God, wait till you're like 18 and can make like,
Sensible decisions.
decisions. But yeah, I got into it really early, and then I've kind of dug myself into a hole now because that's now the only thing I want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world. But, yeah, don't start training at 14. That's so
But your parents must be pretty supportive for you to like just go, hey, at 14, I want to go learn how to wrestle, and they're like, sure, go for it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I was
were
going to
they
say
supportive of it straight from the get go?
well, my mum always was. My dad was the wrestling fan, so obviously he was the one that got me into pro wrestling. And
Yeah.
obviously, as soon as I asked him, he was like, "Absolutely not! Are you crazy?" It took like a week of convincing until my mum messaged the Tasmanian Championship Wrestling training page and said, "Can my daughter train?" And by that point, Dad's arguments out of it because we've already booked to come see the training facility. Yeah, and then from there on, it hasn't been the same since.
And going in there like at 14 years of age, and I can just imagine like a teenage girl going into a pro wrestling training center. Like, do you remember what was going through your head? Were you nervous going in there for the first day to train? Like, what was that feeling?
The first time I actually went to go just speak to the guys there and see what the training facility was like, I remember just shaking the whole car ride there. I was so scared, and I don't even know why. And then for my first like 2 years of training, I am a very well, I think I've gotten a lot better now. I was very socially anxious. I didn't speak to anyone at training unless I absolutely had to for 2 years because I was so intimidated and scared by these guys. And they're the best, nicest people in the world.
Yeah.
But I just remember being so terrifying because I don't know. You think about these dreams and you don't ever expect them to come into reality, and training to be a professional wrestler is so especially as a woman or woman presenting person, or female presenting I should say, just it never seemed like something that could be reality. And just to be there and see a ring, especially in Tasmania too, we've got nothing here. So to have something that I love so close to home, it was I don't know, I no thought in that little brain. Just
Yeah. And you mentioned, your dad got you into wrestling. Like, he's the wrestling fan of the family that got you into it. But then when you said you wanted to get into it, he was like, hell no. Like, is your dad like a hardcore wrestling fan? Like, he understands the back end of the business, like obviously the history of of years prior. Was that something that he was worried about?
Probably. And I think it was also more just because a small 14-year-old girl going to wrestle with these 6 foot tall, massive guys was probably a little bit intense for him. But at the other end of that, and I think he told me this ages on, but I think he's just a little bit jealous that there was wrestling attached for me and not for him, because he always says if wrestling was here when I was your age, I wouldn't have played footy or done all that stuff. It's well, sucks to suck, I guess.
That's definitely one way to put it. But what were some of your early memories of wrestling? Like, what drew you into it as a kid?
So I always watched it. My dad would watch it at my nan's house. I tell this story every time I do an interview, but we would go there most weekends, and The Undertaker always terrified me. It was that weird 2006, 7, 8 period of time where he's kind of at one of his peaks. And I remember watching him and being so scared, but so addicted to what he was doing. And I'd be there sitting behind the couch and ducking underneath watching, but still watching. And then gradually started becoming invested. We moved house in 2010, got Foxtel so I could watch Raw on Wednesday afternoons after school. And then I kind of got got into it in say late 2014, 2015. It was after I watched WrestleMania 31 that I really was no, I can keep following this. And then I watched the Page Fighting with My Family thingo, the original one. And after
That's a
seeing
great knockout.
Yeah, it's amazing. I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, there's a girl that does wrestling. I can do that." And so, yeah, it went on from there.
So when you watched it, like there was not many, like at that time, was there not many women performers that you were, on WWE? I'm just trying to think back in 2010, who was
Um,
around back then?
yeah, at the time, I don't even know. Um, I don't think I watched it like, even 2010, there wasn't much really going on for the women. I think
Mhm.
one of the more charismatic characters they had at the time were probably people like Maurice and Mickey James, I think. I think that's roughly around that time. Um, but yeah, just watching it for fun at that point. It wasn't, yeah, as I said, WrestleMania 31 before-ish, kind of that AJ Lee era where I was like, no, like women can do this and take it seriously and be taken serious, and they can have these really proper amazing matches. And then yeah, the bug bit me and I started training, and here I am now.
I really think that AJ Lee coming in though, like that really sort of push started women's wrestling to another level. Like I think it started to be going away from the diva sort of element and more into these women that can actually wrestle performing and not just doing throwaway matches.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And like roughly around the same time, I guess, is when NXT Arrival and like all those kind of shows started picking up, where the divas, if that's what they were calling them at the time, were like
Mm.
being able to put on these matches as well. And so more eyes are being seen on all different kinds of women, and I guess everything started to become a lot more serious. Not that it wasn't serious before, but it's like, you
It was
see.
taken at another level more seriously, I think, by casual fans at that
Yeah,
stage, because you were starting to see women main eventing. Like, I think WWE sort of dipped their toe in with NXT and sort of had, women doing a little bit more out there matches like last man standing and and also main eventing
yeah,
takeover cards. And now, you're seeing women headlining WrestleMania, which is, there's no bigger event in the world in wrestling for that.
yeah.
And I don't think it's because of society how we are now. I think it's because now that the level of talent is just undeniable.
Yeah, and there's so many more people who are getting into women's wrestling, so many more girls that are training or becoming a part of the business, whether they're, doing podcasts like this or
Mm.
like girl refs. I love me some women's referees. I don't know, it pops me every time. It's really cool. It feels good to finally like feel like there's some real representation
Yeah,
of like every
exactly.
person in wrestling, not just, the wrestlers themselves.
Oh, 100%. And and it just goes to show the dedication. And even you look at in Australia alone, some of the top women that we have performing here is just absolutely amazing, that are, world quality talent, and yourself included in that as well. But, when you started in pro wrestling, was there anything that really, that you had a goal, that you had an aim that you were going for?
When I first started trading, I think at the time, I think my head couldn't comprehend like how far you can really go with this kind of thing. I was
Mm,
happily just training for fun. And then it wasn't until I was pushed to do my first match in 2018. It was like, okay, we'll get through this first year in Tassie, see how I go. Um, kind of got the ball rolling with a couple of matches. And then the next year after that, it was like, okay, I've done like a couple matches. I want to do more. Tried messaging a couple of different places. I wanted to work, obviously around Australia.
mm.
Um, was not ready, but it was just becoming more eager and learning more about the Australian business itself, because at the time I was only ever watching like WWE. I never really got into much else. And yeah, then, a couple of years on from that, ended up, going further into doing some interstate stuff. And now I think I'm at the point where for now, I just want to make myself, known in Australia, and I think I'm doing that. One day, if that takes me internationally, then that would be, crazy cool. If it doesn't, I'm content with that. But I'm open to, anything that comes my way.
And you know what? I think, the sort of open mentality with that is a lot what a lot of Australian performers sort of have, because there's so much, happening here in pro wrestling in this country, that there's something big that has to there's a penny that's going to drop, I feel, that's going to happen in the Australian scene, and something's just big's going to happen. And I definitely think that, there's a plethora of talent to definitely make that. But when you had to make your debut, how did you like come up with your character and gimmick? Was it because obviously you said you were just used to training and sort of having fun in doing that? Did you think much of like character work when you were training? Like, when did that sort of start coming into play for you?
Not really at all. I don't even really think until maybe this year, kind of last year, that I've only really come into what I guess my character is. For ages, I was just very much content with being Charli, because that's who I am. Happy-go-lucky, like just loves pro wrestling, just wants to get involved. And being the only girl in Tasmanian wrestling that's homegrown at the time, it's something easy to fall back on. Fans can appreciate our homegrown talent and watch how they grow, which is what I guess they've done with me. And then now that I'm wanting to do stuff that's a little bit more advanced, and obviously wanting to do interstate / international stuff, I've got to separate myself from everyone else. So what's the difference between me, girl wrestler that's trained in Tassie, compared to someone else that's been training in, I don't know, New South Wales? Like, how do we differentiate us two? It's a lot of fun. I'm still kind of trying to figure myself out in that, but we're getting there. I think we're getting there.
What do you prefer to work, babyface or heel?
I love working babyface, especially in Tassie, because they really like me, and I don't know why.
The homegrown girl.
Yeah. No, I love being face down there. I've only worked heel really once or twice before, and it was a lot of fun, but it's definitely not what I'm used to. And as I said, now I think I'm getting to that stage where I want that challenge and I want something new. So I can't really say like either or, because I've had so much experience with one, not the other. But I'm dipping my toes into a bit of heel work now. So it's been fun for the little bit of stuff that I've done so far.
And you know what we were talking about, and we briefly touched on it, is wrestling in Tasmania. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, so which is the promotion that you work for in Tasmania?
Tasmanian Championship Wrestling in Launceston. Yeah, it's the only official pro wrestling academy that we have in Tassie, and the only place that does shows. I'm sure there's a lot more backyard places than I'd like to be aware about. But yeah.
Nothing wrong with the backyarders as long as they're safe, but
yeah, true. Very true.
And what's the wrestling like in Tassie? Like, you said that, obviously shows are a little bit more spread out, but what's the talent like down there?
Talent like that, we have grown so much as a company over the past 3-4 years. Just the way, our shows are set up, and for ages, we probably only had a handful of students that were actually training. Now we've got upwards of like 20 to 30 trainees that come in. So many like amazing guys and girls. We finally got some girls down here, which is awesome. I don't feel like a loner anymore. we're all just like pushing to be seen and entertaining. Everyone's got their kind of thing that they're good at, you know what I mean? Like some people are really good at acting, some people are extremely athletic, extremely strong. We've got like an amazing group of just unique people, and yeah, I can honestly say that Tasmanian Championship Wrestling right now has to be Australian pro wrestling's best kept secret, because we've got so much good shit happening. It's crazy. It's crazy, and it's so like emotional to watch it grow, being a part of it, which sounds so dumb because I've essentially grown up with them too. But to like,
Yeah.
I wasn't at their last show, but I watched it back and I was just like, man, we have come so far. I'm so proud of like all those guys. They're amazing.
And that's the thing. Like, it's just I love finding new promotions out there, and you know, hearing about Tasmanian Championship Wrestling. It just sounds like it's a real homegrown community for people that just love the business, that want to be involved and break into it. And it's great to see that you guys have grown from, you know, a small group of people to now having like a large number that are training regularly. So, but who's been some of your favorite opponents to wrestle out of Tassie?
It's hard to pick, isn't it? Down in Tassie, I have to say that my favorite match that I have had would be the one I had with Eddie Jones, where I won our North S title. Because obviously Eddie Jones is one of the main guys who trained me from the beginning. And we had a storyline going, you know, through that. We were in a faction called Jonestown with Dylan Daniels. Shout out to other wrestling. Oh, they're both wrestling dads. And yeah, that, I don't know, it was, to be the first North S champion was insane. And to wrestle like him for that is just, I don't know, overwhelming in a way that I didn't expect. Other matches outside of that I've really enjoyed. I really enjoyed wrestling Katie Lux. That was really fun, and I've gotten to become quite good friends with her outside of wrestling, which is cool. I'd like to have a better match. Probably wasn't one of my best matches, but it was a lot of fun. What other matches have I had? I've had like no matches, but like I don't remember any of them. Yeah.
Boogaloo from the Dead Presidents wants to get booked to work in Tasmania. We'll have to get him out from Florida for that one. So, you know, that's the thing. Like, you know, and what are your shows normally drawing? Are you guys getting some decent numbers for crowds?
Yeah, it's really strange to hear like other people in the business talk about how many people they roughly have at their shows. And when they ask me, I'm like, oh, we get upwards of like anywhere between 200 and 250, and they're like, what?
That's pretty good for like somewhere like Tasmania.
Yeah, it's because our fan base is very much like families and like people that come for entertainment. You know, these people who come to our shows, they've probably watched WWE once or twice on the TV and gone, oh, pro wrestling, that's cool. Seen that it's in Launceston, and, you know, because there's not a lot going on in Tassie, they've come down, and, you know, as soon as like one, you know, person comes to the show, you know, they always come back and they always keep coming back, and following the stories and getting invested, which is, you know, it's what we want. It's so cool. It always gets them. I always tell my friends, you know, like, you know, just come to one. It'll be fun. And ever since then, they've come every other time we've had a show, and they enjoy it immensely, it's very cool. Especially people who aren't like pro wrestling friends, like they don't watch wrestling at all, and they come and they're entertained, and that's what we're there to do.
Yeah, I've taken friends that aren't pro, like they're just not pro wrestling fans. Like they're not against it, they just don't watch it. And I've taken a couple of people like that to shows, and they're just like, after it, they just walk out the biggest marks. They're just like, holy fucking shit, did you see? They're like, yeah, bro, I was there. Yeah. So, but that's the thing, like,
together. It's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like I think some people probably think of it as like, oh, they go pro wrestling. Oh yeah, yeah. And then when they see it live and see how good the performers are, it's like that's when almost like the penny drops. And I think they go, oh, it's not like the hokey shit from the 90s.
No, it's very much like an atmosphere thing too. You know, you feel a crowd rumbling, and you can't help but not get involved, whether it's by clapping or cheering or, you know, just being a part of a crowd. It's I don't know. It's very weird. Yeah.
And you started wrestling interstate, and we mentioned at the top of the interview, wrestling for Deathmatch Down Under. Huge shout out to those guys. They're doing amazing things.
Yeah.
I hope this lockdown opens up for them very quickly and they can start
I
putting
hope
some
they
shows
do.
out.
I can come visit them because I love all them so much.
Amazing people doing amazing things. And, was that your first time going interstate for wrestling?
No, it was actually my second time. The first time I did anything interstate wise, I wrestled Charli at Venom up in Queensland. And once again, at that point, like, I didn't really know my character. It was my first time working a heel match, and I had really no idea what I was doing. But, having, another year kind of under my belt in Tassie to figure myself out, and train more and, do everything that I can to be prepared. And then, by the time I was ready to, I guess, advance on training and performing wise, Deathmatch Down Under were there to welcome me with open arms. And yeah, I've not looked back since.
And where are some of the places that you'd really like to head to next?
My goal as of now is to do as much of just Victoria as possible. I want to work anywhere and everywhere that's there. But obviously I'm not opposed to working anywhere in Australia. Anyone that'll take me, I'm like, please have me, please. But yeah, right now, Victoria, Melbourne, that's the game plan.
No, they've
And
got a lot of good promotions there too.
yeah, so many. It really is the state for professional wrestling in Australia because there's so much of it, which is so like crazy to think about because I'm so used to our, one show every couple of months, and they have shows every weekend. It's very cool, and it's nice to like see it kind of mainstream somewhere in Australia like it is in the States. Obviously, we're not at that, American level of, running shows and stuff, but they're really, as close as we've got, and they do it well. Everyone there is amazing. So, yeah.
Oh, 100%. And, I think, as you said, Victoria's got a lot of talent there and there's a lot there. But as a Sydney boy, I'm going to disagree and say New South Wales is where it's at, but, we beg to differ on that one.
No, of course. They've got like amazing people as well too, and that's one place that I've never been really before. I think I've been to Sydney like once, so to just experience the state and the wrestling itself would be amazing. Like I can't say no to anywhere.
So, on your wish list, who are some of the names that you'd really like to get in the ring and wrestle in Australia?
Yeah,
we'll do Australia, then we'll do internationally because I'm sure you got two lists.
Yeah, it changes all the time. Right now, now I actually have to think because like it changes, and then I'm like, oh, I'm on the spot. I really, really, really want to wrestle Rochelle Rogue because we've kind of grown up in wrestling the same way. She's amazing. I'd love to have a one-on-one with her. Outside of that, I met Kellyanne for the first time when I did a PCW show. And meeting her, I was like, oh my God, like, I've known you since I was like 14. Like, oh my God, this is so weird. So to have that idol kind of one-on-one match would be cool. Same with, oh my gosh, I've like blanked out on names.
Which state are we thinking here? Melbourne or?
Yeah. Oh, what is her name? It's gone out of my head. Blonde, very frizzy Brat Pack girl. Oh my gosh.
With the Brat Pack?
Yeah, she was.
Oh, I can't remember. I can't. He's got me stuck
So
now.
weird.
When you said blonde frizzy hair, I was going to say Shazza, but not really frizzy hair.
Starts with, oh my gosh, it's gone.
Someone will tell us in the comments, I'm sure.
I'm gonna look like an idiot. But she had a match. She was one of the first girl wrestlers I saw down in Tassie. And ever since then, I've obviously followed her, and she's done so much since then and become a really big name, even though I've forgotten it. Yeah, so that would be really cool. Avery, that's what it is. Oh my god.
Now I know who.
Avery. What was I thinking? God damn it. Yeah, I'd love to wrestle her one day. There we go.
It's all right. We're live. These things happen.
Yeah.
But, internationally, who would some of the people that you'd like to get in there and tear it up with?
Ooh. I mean, my dream match, I think, would have to be someone like Sasha Banks, because she's obviously one of the ones that as I'm training and learning, she was really, up and coming at the time. So I'd love to just learn from her. It sucks because, I have always been a WWE girl, and so I know there's so much talent outside of WWE in America or just all over the world right now, that I forget names and it's hard for me to keep up sometimes.
100%.
Charli Evans was the other name that I was thinking of too. I'd love to work her as well. She
Battle of the Charlies
was really cool. I was very scared because I was like, oh my god, is she gonna hate me because we have the same name? But she was really cool, and she's always been really sweet to me, ever since then. She's amazing. I after meeting her, I was like, okay, I need to watch all your matches. You're so cool. And that would be cool. And she's international, right? She's done a lot of stuff outside of Australia. That counts.
100%. And she's amazing. She hands down, whether men or women, she is probably up there in the top 5 in the country.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Without question. But now, obviously that that you've been wrestling for a few years now, do you still watch the product as a fan?
It's weird. I'm more of a fan of Australian wrestling, and I like seeing what my friends, and not even just my friends, but other people in the Australian wrestling community are doing. I guess ever since the pandemic, it's been really hard for me to get into wrestling outside of, the bubble that is Australia. I'm slowly kind of going back and forth and watching some stuff here and there. I watch a lot of clips and stuff on Twitter. I need to get back into watching a lot more wrestling because obviously that's how we learn. And I can put my hand up and admit that, I don't watch it as much anymore as I probably should. But I'm getting back into it, and it's driving my ambition to, want to actually do this a lot more, which is cool, and I need that.
When you watch it, do you watch it from a different view now that you've been a performer for years, for a few years, sorry?
Yeah.
Do you sit there, can you still enjoy it and sort of fan out, or is it I can see they stuffed up there. Oh, okay, I like what they did there, but that spot was okay. Do you critique it more now?
When I first started learning how to bump and hit ropes, I instantly was like, oh my gosh, I see how they're taking the steps, they're grabbing the rope and they're hitting like this, or this is how they're protecting themselves when they bump. And I always thought that was cool, but I've done a pretty good job in figuring out how to tune out. I can obviously notice things a lot more now that I watch it. I'm a fan as much as anyone else. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably one
as hard to not be critical because I know what it's like to be critiqued. So I'm I just watch it for entertainment. It's fine.
Just allow yourself to sort of shut off and enjoy the moment of what it is. And, good wrestling's good wrestling. It doesn't matter what promotion it is. It's, if you can sit there and be invested into it, it means the performers have done their job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But Charlie, it is almost time to wrap up the show, but I just do want to take a quick moment. It is that time for the game 60 seconds with Piers. We have briefed Charlie about this game. Everyone get ready, sit in tight. Charlie, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to fire questions at you. You've got 60 seconds to answer as many questions as you can. When you're ready, Charlie, you give me the Iggy and we can get this thing started.
A yee? Is that what you said?
Give me the Iggy. Give me the go ahead.
All right. Yee. There you go.
Snapchat or TikTok?
TikTok.
MasterChef or Kitchen Rules?
MasterChef.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Which Chris is hotter, Hemsworth, Evans, or Pratt?
Evans.
Favorite song to sing in the car?
God is a Woman by Ariana Grande.
Name a gross meal combo that you love that no one else does.
I don't know. I might have to come back to that one. I won't have time.
Name 5 things sitting in front of you.
My phone, a bunch of pillows, a PlayStation controller, a lamp, a lip gloss. Was that 5? Another pillow. I think that was more than 5.
Aliens, real or fake?
Real. Well, I was having this conversation with the Cool Guy Squad before, who is a couple of boys from Melbourne. Yeah, 100% real.
5-star hotel or camping?
5-star hotel.
I don't blame you. That is time. And you know what? I'm always the same thing. My wife wanted to take the kids and me camping, and I was like, no, sweetheart, I sleep in a big king-size bed at home and I'm comfortable. I ain't sleeping on the floor in a bloody tent. It ain't happening.
I've camped a couple of times and it is a lot of fun, but there's nothing like going to, any hotel and, I don't know. Yeah. I like to have Wi-Fi.
I'm with you on that one. But Charlie, where can everyone find you on social media? Where can everyone go and get some Charlie Rose merch?
Okay. I have merch coming on the way. There's things planned. I'll post a lot more of it very, very soon, and like whereabouts and how you can contact me to get that. You can follow my Instagram and Twitter at CharlieRosePW. That's with the E on the end of Charlie. And then I share a lot more of my Tassie stuff and a lot of more Tassie promos and stuff on my Facebook page, which at the moment is Charlie without the I.TCW. That name might be changed soon, but I keep everyone updated on my other socials anyway. But as of now, that's what it is on Facebook. And I think that's all. Yeah. I don't think
there you go. And everyone, thank you very much for tuning in for another episode of Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I've got another show episode coming up this week on Sunday, which will be at 11 a.m., which is 9 p.m. USA Eastern time, with indie wrestling legend from the US, Foxy. So make sure you tune into that one. She's actually writing a book and memoirs of her career, so we're definitely going to get into that. Make sure to check out all the other shows. Get Funked with Kiwi. Also check out Killing the Business with the Kingpin, and also don't forget about Knights of the Gimmick Table as well with the Dead Presidents, Boogaloo and Lowrider. But guys, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for tuning in and checking this out. Do us a favor, click like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you're watching us on Twitch, click up there and make sure you follow it. And if you're seeing it anywhere else, don't be a bitch. Switch to Twitch. And guys, we'll catch you next time. Peace.